assets, moving their fake derivatives into a special insurance box. When you're guaranteeing value of that, the banks are taking over the government, and the government is allowing it to happen by being paid off. You have this new blend or flavor of corporatism. It's not just simply capitalism. Russia and China, they've been set up to play their part in the New World Order currency, the new SDR system. So if the whole world turns on America and sees America as the sole origin of all the world's evils, then the New World Order, the real elite, the real rich win. They win when you scream for that guy down the street because he has a nicer car than you to be taxed. You know, I have come physically from nothing my whole life when it comes to monetary level. I still don't see things like most people in that box. I have student debt, but I'm more concerned about ending the wars. I'm more concerned, okay, on this little soapbox that I've created about bringing stories to you that we should be discussing. Not talking about a small issue or something that only affects a small segment of the population. The truth came out years ago that the whole college bubble, student loan bubble, that was the last thing to go because they want people to continue to borrow more money and go into debt. They're not in the business of helping you find a job. Now we have people holding signs up saying having a job is a human right. Having health care is a human right. Where do we enter the psychosis that the government's job is to clothe us, is to bathe us, is to feed us? There is no freedom in that because there is no such thing as a free lunch. It all comes with strings attached. And we have to realize this fact. We have to realize that if we're going to be free, we have to start building local governments because the whole system is imploding now. And we have governors within our own country engaged in treason now, meeting with the communist Chinese, meeting with the Russians, and making plans for the world tomorrow. They're borrowing outrageous amounts of money so that small communities can continue to flourish and people can still continue to have a good old time while living on borrowed time. But a day is coming. A day is coming where we, I mean you and me, the people in this country, are going to be expected to pay back what our government's done in our name. The war, the torture, all the innocent widows, all the innocent children that have been murdered at the hands of our military, at the hands of NATO troops, this is bad karma. This is bad mojo. There are repercussions. There are social repercussions. There are social ills we have in our society. Without me needing to mention them or go off on this issue or that issue, they stem from common problems that we must face, that we must address. This country needs some sort of an intervention. This planet needs some sort of an intervention. This planet, folks, is in crisis mode. This planet is in crisis mode. 27 friggin' trillion. Now it's 75 trillion. Do you know what it's like waking up to that fact that you live in a world where many people don't even know this is going on and your own government is preparing to go to war to boost their economy and kill millions of people? Here's some kind of a feedback there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on with the rest of the things here, rest of the things on the docket. We covered Iran, and I'm not going to spend days upon days documenting while this whole thing is staged. They admit in the New York Times, and Bill, you can bring up some of those articles about how fake this whole Iranian thing is. Just like in Portland, no bomb was used, and you need to be aware of this. No bomb was used, no explosive. It's all hearsay. It's all done through wiretaps and agent provocateurs and people being emailed, hey, you want to be involved in this project? Sure, I will. So they tell the press. So they get him to go along to allegedly blow something up, like they did with that Samoan guy in Portland, Oregon, downtown last year at the Christmas tree lighting ceremony. Okay, there was no explosive at all involved in that, but they claimed that he thought he was going to blow up something for real. So the end result of that was for Portland, Oregon to rejoin the federal-run Joint Terrorism Task Force, the JTTF. And the papers all across the nation said, what's wrong with Portland, Oregon? What's wrong with these people? What's wrong with Randy Leonard? Why don't they want to be in the JTTF? All the other cities are, so now we're in the JTTF. In a city that had Top-Off 4 take place, in a city with black helicopters flying over it in 2008, still goes on today, but it's become normalized. This is wrong. So in that case, with that staged event, the end goal is to get us in the JTTF. In this case, with Iran allegedly trying to assassinate Saudi Arabia's ambassador to the U.S. by using a member of the Zetas, the Mexican drug cartel, they're using this excuse to bomb Iran. Now, we've got some information about their banks. Again, their banks are under attack. They're talking about committing economic terrorism by targeting Iran's central bank. There's even a Republican lawmaker that says that the U.S. should respond in a military fashion. And Kane, the next great black hope for the Republican Party, he's saying that this wouldn't even be an issue if he was the president because he'd had missiles pointed directly at Iran. And so you're hearing crazier things. And here's what Glenn Beck is saying. And you know how many people Glenn Beck reaches? Glenn Beck reaches millions and millions of people. He runs many websites. One of them is theblaze.com. Theblaze.com. On that website, here's a report where he's alleging that some information was linked from a website in Iran that states Iran's plan to retaliate against the U.S. if it comes to war by invading our country. This BS is really being peddled to Americans out there that don't know any better, and this is significant that these deceptions are going on. They're setting the stage for a lie that's yet to come. So Glenn Beck's saying on theblaze.com that Iran's prepared to go through the Suez Canal into Venezuela, a nautical distance of 9,000 miles, in order to counterattack the United States. And this is what is passing for news today. Meanwhile, no one's looking at the reality of what China's being prepped for. So we need to jump back to the whole plan for Putin to create a Eurasian Union. And let's go back to that one. So while all this stuff is going on, Vladimir Putin recently detailed his plan to build a Eurasian Union somewhat reminiscent of the Soviet Union and be able to compete with European Union and the United States. And so Russia's already out of debt. They bought Oregon Steel not too long ago for several $billions. Putin's plan is to bring ex-Soviet states into this new union and says they won't stop at this project. He wants to expand partnership between the Eurasian Union and the EU, stating that that will change the geopolitical and geoeconomic structure of the entire continent. Putin said last month that he's going to run the March 2012 presidential election and that his current public approval rating shows that he is set to win. And on his network, Russia Today, Putin's network, ex-KGB, Russia Today, that is, of course, dabbling in popular American conspiracy theories. So they're manipulating the truth. They're using truth for their own agenda. On Russia Today, they're showing video of nearly naked women in bikinis washing cars for their loving leader. Okay? So sex continues to sell beyond one particular point in time, beyond one particular space on the planet or place on the planet. Sex still continues to sell war. And so that's what it looks like is being done today in Russia. Oh, the loving leader. Oh, look at Russia. He's got his own camp for the children. The Putin Youth. Run that through Google. We talked about that before on the show. So we're all seeing evidence of this. We're all seeing the fingerprints of this stage design shift from the power base being located in the west and towards the east. So now we're going to go ahead and talk about Bank of America. Go ahead and take a breath. I know I should probably talk, Bill, about being in Texas. I know I'll get to that at some point. There's so many different things to cover. A couple more pages we're going to get through, then maybe I'll take one more phone call. Bank of America dumped $75 trillion in derivatives on U.S. taxpayers with federal approval. So for those of you that are going out to the Occupy protests and you're meeting people that say we should not focus on the Federal Reserve or even talk about it, there's some people that have been told to say that we need to help them become more aware that we have a problem with education, and we're not talking about being able to afford schools or schooling or college education or pay off that debt. We're talking about being aware of the link between the Federal Reserve and many of these banks. Bloomberg reported that Bank of America has shifted about $22 trillion worth of derivative obligations from Merrill Lynch and Bank of America to the FDIC-insured retail deposit division. Along with this information came the revelation that the FDIC-insured unit was also already stuffed with $53 trillion worth of these potentially toxic obligations, making it a total of $75 trillion. $75 trillion, a lot larger than the $27 trillion that many of us have been talking about since 2008. And so here's something you should know about Bank of America's link to China. Bank of America sells stake in China Construction Bank. This is from August 2011. They announced a couple months ago that they would sell about half their China Construction Bank holdings to a group of unidentified investors in a deal expected to raise $8.3 billion. Now, what I did after finding out about the $75 trillion, because I've already known that Bank of America and China are linked in many intricate ways. There's many ways that our banks are linked to the Chinese banks. So this is something that I found that was actually initially published in September 2007. We'll go ahead and bring that one up, Bill. It reads, Bank of America and China Construction Bank collaborate on business deals. Bank of America, and again, this is September 2007, the Bank of America Corporation and China Construction Bank announced an agreement to jointly enter into a new leasing business aimed at providing innovation products for the rapidly growing Chinese economy. The new standalone entity will be China's first joint agreement between a foreign investor and a Chinese bank to launch a financial leasing company. The new business will combine Bank of America's leading leasing and risk management expertise. I want to slow down and go over that one more time. It says risk management expertise, where they're going to place their toxic, empty assets, make the taxpayers pay for it, put into another division of the FDIC, after Bank of America and China continue to merge their risk management expertise. So they were planning to do this for a long time. Bank of America is China. China is helping to throw you out of your homes. China will not be able to help you. China is not a good cop in the good cop, bad cop, New World Order system. China is a part of that same New World Order system that we all have been supposed to be allies against for years. This whole war machine, this whole debt machine, they're not separate nations. And when you start learning about things like this, how Bank of America and China are linked together, you should start to see the whole real structure of power, how it's linked together. It's not the way we're told on MSNBC. They keep things divisive. They keep things in the box. MSNBC keeps things left or right. I think MSNBC and Fox News work together to keep people in a fake left-right paradigm. MSNBC has never really gone after the Republicans and their war machine. And Fox News has never really gone after the Democrats and their connections to the war machine, or Obama's connections to the war machine. They're manipulating the people to be at war with one another, left, right, ping pong ball. But the wars continue to escalate. I've been consistent with my message from day one that these wars are immoral. These wars come with a consequence. These wars aren't expensive. These wars are racist. These wars are racist. We have to come to some sort of awareness that this is not good. We don't have the clips to show you tonight. There are clips you can find right now where we're starting to see China getting prepped for the world tomorrow, where they're shooting U.S. troops, where they're invading the United States of America in the same way that U.S. troops a decade ago were playing video games where they were attacking Iraq and attacking Afghanistan using helicopters and tanks, just rolling through the middle of a Middle Eastern bazaar, just blowing everything and everyone up. We become desensitized to that. We become desensitized, that level of destruction, and we have acquiesced to leaders and deceivers promising change but delivering nothing but more tyranny. And then people apologizing for that. That is great evil. Apologizing for Obama or Bush's wickedness. That is great evil. You have to separate yourself from that evil if you're not a part of it. You can't prop up the New World Order and think that's going to keep you safe. You got another thing coming. You should face what's happening now. You should face the truth. You should see these shows as an asset to your life and community, that we have access to information, that we have news like this to share with people, that things are not as they seem, that there's something spiritual in all this, in recognizing evil in your world and standing against it without fear of what's going to happen to you. Standing tall, going out, starting a show, or traveling the country, or doing something bold, not being tied down to a job or relationship or a house, living by the seat of your pants. I mean, where is the freedom in locking your